Joined now in studio by Bruce Ceprnich. He's from Evolution 2 Motorsport. They are performance-enhancing experts. They carry out performance modifications on racing vehicles. They've also had huge success in the local motorsport industry. They've been working on racing cars for over 40 years. Bruce, good morning. Just explain how you modify cars in order to prepare them for racing.
Well, thanks for having me, Peter. Well, in terms of racing, obviously from Evolution 2 Motorsport's perspective, we've been involved in production car racing on a national basis for many years. The business is owned and run by my father, Alex Ceprnich, and my brother Gavin works for him. And basically, from a preparation point of view, you know, from obtaining a normal standard production car, putting a roll cage in it, increasing the rigidity of the chassis, doing suspension modifications, and then obviously engine modifications according to the rules and what the rules allow.
Obviously in F1, I mean, the margins are so small, you're talking of hundreds and hundreds of seconds. What is the difference? I mean, what would make that difference of hundreds of a second?
Well, the team spend a lot of money and budgets on research and development, spending time in the wind tunnel, enhancing the aerodynamics of the vehicle, and that's mainly where they make up a lot of their time. Also, as we've seen with the new rule changes and the engine rule changes that are coming to Formula One, the V6 turbocharged engines, Mercedes-Benz has gained a lot from that, and that's why they are ahead of the field, because of those engines that are a lot more powerful than their competitors, such as Ferrari and the Renault-powered engines. And then working the engines according to the aerodynamic package and trying to get the best optimal package for the track that they race at.
What specifically in the car? You look at Ferrari dominating under Michael Schumacher years ago. Now it seems to be shifting to Mercedes. Now, what is the difference in the cars? Is it vastly different?
Well, there's a lot of differences. It's obviously the primary thing is down to budget. So last season, Mercedes-Benz
They've all got so much money.
Mercedes-Benz had a huge budget last year, and surprisingly, you know, the second team was then Red Bull, and then the likes of Ferrari and McLaren. So if you have the money to play, you can do the research and development during the course of the season, spending time in the wind tunnel and bringing aero upgrades to, you know, the necessary tracks. But it's all down to systems, it's down to methodology, and I guess, you know, during Michael Schumacher's era at Ferrari, they could do in-season testing. Now there's obviously a testing ban during the course of the racing season, so you have to do a lot of your homework in the winter, and obviously from that perspective, if you do what's necessary, and we've seen huge gains for Ferrari. They were lagging a little bit behind the likes of Red Bull and even Williams in 2014, but definitely this season they have upped their game. They've got new team management in place, and it seems as though I wouldn't say they are ahead of Mercedes at this point. They've still got a lot of work to do, but they definitely are one of the second favorite teams.
I've always wanted to know what percentage of a win is attributed to the car as opposed to the driver.
Well, win can come down to many things. You know, it can come down to what the conditions are on the track. When you look back at Malaysia, at the Malaysian Grand Prix a few weeks ago, it was a huge surprise to see Sebastian Vettel, you know, beat the might of Mercedes-Benz, and that was primarily down to track conditions, high track temperatures, the fact that Ferrari optimized their race setup, and from that perspective, they were able to do one less pit stop compared to Mercedes-Benz, and they gained the track advantage. So it's all the preparation that goes into the weekend, you know, the practice and the free practice sessions that are taking place today on Friday, and then a few tomorrow morning. You know, those are where the teams can understand where they are with their cars, what type of race strategy they can implement. And, you know, Ferrari did a better job than Mercedes-Benz in Malaysia. And even Kimi Raikkonen, from his perspective, I mean, he might have only finished fourth, but in the opening laps, he made contact with another driver, and he was forced to the back of the field, but he was one of the fastest cars out there, and he managed to come up and finish in the top four.
Chatting in the build-up to this chat, you say, you know, the status of F1 at the moment is maybe lagging behind what it was. What do you think of Bernie Ecclestone and the way he's going about things?
Well, Bernie has actually come out with a few controversial comments in the past few weeks. He's actually come out saying that Mercedes-Benz and in Pacific, their boss Toto Wolff, are killing the sport, which is highly controversial. And that's naturally down to the fact that Mercedes-Benz is not willing to give up their hold on the championship through unfreezing some of the engine rules and the rules in the championship. You know, it's the same thing as where, you know, when Red Bull was dominant, and this is some of the criticism that has come out from their team boss, Christian Horner. You know, they come up with enhancements such as the blown diffuser and a few other aerodynamic enhancements, and those were banned because the FIA thought that they had an unfair advantage over the rest of the teams. And naturally now Toto Wolff is saying, you know, the other teams need to do their homework in terms of catching up with us. And if they don't do it, then that's why they're not going to be able to beat us. And Bernie Ecclestone's basically saying, from a spectacle perspective, you know, the current form of engines, the V6 turbos, it's not a spectacle for the fans. They don't have the sound. And naturally, from that perspective, viewership is declining. And if there's no viewership, then there's no sponsors that want to get into the sport as well.